Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go, 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 go.
Green machine, gonna rock the town without being seen. Have you ever seen a turtle get down? Slamming and jamming to the new swing sound. Yeah, everybody let's move. Vanilla is filled with the new jack groove. Gonna rock and roll the place with the power of the Ninja Turtle bass. Iceman, you know I'm not playing. Devastate the show what the turtles are saying. Ninja, ninja, rap. Ninja, ninja, rap. Ninja, ninja, rap. Go, 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 go. Go ninja, go ninja, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Lyrics, fill in the gap. Drop that bass and get the ninja rap. Just feel it, if you know what I mean. Give it up for the heroes in green. Just flowing, smooth with the power. Kicking it up hour after hour. Cause in this life there's only one winner. You better aim quick, you can hit the center. In it to win it with a team of 4 Ninja Turtles that you gotta adore. It's Ninja, Ninja, Rap. Ninja, Ninja, Rap. Ninja, Ninja, Rap. Go, 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 go. Go Ninja, go Ninja, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Villains, you better run and hide, because one day you might not slide. So choose your weapon, don't slip. Vanilla's in control with the flex of a mic grip. Rocking the crowd the way it should be rocked. With the Miami drop that you like a lot. You know it's hidden like a Ninja Turtle. When the bass kicks in, you better check the level. The power of the ninja is strong. Fighting all crooks until they're all gone. Ninja, ninja, rap. Ninja, ninja, rap. Ninja, ninja, rap. Go, 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 go. Go ninja, go ninja, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Ninja, ninja, rap. Ninja, ninja, rap. Ninja, ninja, rap. Go, 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 go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go ninja, go ninja, go. Go, 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 go. Out with the gladiator, baby.
Everything beautiful turns to Totino's, Totino's, how did you know? Totino's, Totino's, everybody's talking about Totino's, Totino's, where did they go? Where's my Totino's, Totino's? No!
We're sorry, bandwidth limit exceeded. To continue surfing, please call now and upgrade your package.
You know, we joke a lot, but the sad truth is you could hear this message very soon. Once again, your freedom is at risk. Big internet ISPs and the government are trying to take away more of your rights than usual. But you can do something about it.
That's right. It's super easy to do. Both of us went to battleforthenet.com today, and we made our voices heard. Battleforthenet.com has everything you need to know about the net neutrality movement, and it has everything.
We're sorry, your internet provider has deemed this content unsuitable for viewing in your area.
Go to battleforthenet.com.
Please make your voice heard. Make a difference.
Hey guys, join us every Friday night at midnight for Midnight Spook House Live, where we talk about the paranormal, including UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and everything else that goes bump in the night.
And every other Wednesday, we have 2 different shows, I'll Podcast on Your Grave, where we discuss horror, and Retro After Dark, where we discuss everything from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
For more details and showtimes, visit midnightspookhouse.com.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
Say what?
Oh yeah!
Say what?
Can I do that?
Good evening, everyone. We are finally here, ready for an episode of Retro After Dark. Ryan, are you with us, man? Ryan, can you hear me?
I'm off to a brilliant start, I'll tell you.
Already muted, were you?
Okay. Talking on mute, yeah.
That's okay. Hey, at least we're here doing the show. So we know we're behind a show. This is a makeup show, so don't expect perfection. You know, our usual perfection, should I say. Right. So I'm Dale, and of course with me as always is Ryan. And
hello, everyone.
Yeah, tonight's going to be a fun one. We're going to take on the year 1980, not 1981, not 1982, but just 1980. And we're going to do this as a series, and it should be a lot of fun. What do you think?
One thing I want to say is, man, doing the research on just 1980
right
was difficult because anything you tried to search, if you put 1980, it's automatically giving you like the best of the 80s, kind of list. I think it's going to be a lot easier when we get to 1981.
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, the 80s seems it seems like a broad term when you Google it. So yeah, I can see that. We've got some pretty cool news, some about a Sega Genesis. So we really kind of are going to go back in time a little bit, and some about Spider-Man and things like that. But on the second half of the show, which should also be fun, rebuying old stuff on a new format ish, remasters, and I guess kind of remakes. We're not going to probably take on remakes that much, but unless you consider a remake an upgraded version, a reboot, maybe more so than a remake. So yeah,
I think with some things the line is kind of blurring there.
You know, when you try to
like,
describe it, that's the truth. Yeah. You nailed it. I've never tried to describe it before, so yeah, I realize now. Any which way.
Well, why do we do it? We'll find out.
Yes, we will find out. So go ahead. You have some fun news, and I think it should be first.
So this At Games new Sega Genesis, it's the properly called the HD Sega Genesis Flashback.
All right.
Is on the horizon. We've talked about it a little bit before, but we're mentioning it again because review copies of it are actually getting out there. So people are actually getting their hands on these things, and this is kind of what I've been waiting for to see if this thing's actually going to be worth our money.
Yeah.
Because, if you know At Games, they're not exactly known for quality.
We try to be positive around here, but it's a company like that makes it a little bit difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I think we've all been kind of conned into it's a tiny Sega Genesis. This is perfect for traveling or whatever. And you hook it up and you find out that it's actually just like an emulator on a chip.
Yeah.
And the sound is atrocious and the gameplay's off and it's just not a good experience.
Well, here's to hoping for something better this time. It sounds good on paper, but I guess it usually does, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially if you ask at games.
Right. Consider the source, as they say.
Yeah. So reviews are kind of a mixed bag on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I'm not sure where I'm at on the fence yet again, because the major review outlets, like IGN and GameSpot, places like that,
right?
They're kind of, let me step back. They're not a fan of the thing.
Oh yeah. Okay.
They're spouting the same issues as before. Poor sound and buggy gameplay, things like that.
I was thinking eventually they'd get it right, but maybe not.
Well, here's the thing, and this is my problem with major gaming outlets. I kind of feel like they're just kind of regurgitating the same, kind of bullet points about at games.
Right.
That they're not really giving this thing a chance. Because a couple of other YouTubers have gotten a hold of the machine, and they're saying that it's fine. That At Games has finally nailed it.
Huh?
I won't say nailed it because there are some complaints about it, but at least the glaring issue that I had with the At Games products before was the sound issue. Everything sounded off.
Mm-hmm.
I think the example we used before, with the that good old sonic ring noise that everyone knows and the gas stations have adopted
right
for their cash registers too. Instead of that beautiful chiming noise that we all know and love, you get this sort of like ball peen hammer on a tin can kind of clank.
It is unusual, isn't it?
It's hard to describe. But
it really is, yeah.
That was kind of the At Games thing before, but some YouTubers have got a hold of some early copies of this thing, and they say the sound is fine, and they've actually streamed some video of it. And
you've heard it then. Does it sound all right?
Yeah, it sounds perfectly fine to me.
So what does that say about the reviewers who give it grief? Have they actually tried it, or are they just assuming, or what do you think?
Well, I think they're just assuming, and the impression that I get from IGN and GameSpot are that I don't know if it's like some younger reviewers that just never grew up with the Genesis to begin with, and they just don't know any better. Because I don't know, I'm a hardcore Genesis fan, and from the gameplay that I've played, it sounds perfectly fine to me.
Well, that's good. But that's great,
They note weird things that shouldn't matter. like in the GameSpot review, first of all, he says that you have to power the console off if you want to put in one of your actual Sega Genesis cartridges. Like, you have to turn off the system and then turn it back on.
Right.
I'm like, that's a negative? Like,
yeah, isn't it what you should do anyway? Right?
I don't know if it was this, but...
I admit, though, that you did have that friend who would do that and then just, like, hit reset. And it's like, you could just turn it off and do that.
Does that even work?
Yeah, I don't know. I assume, but I don't know.
Experiment later if I want to try to fry a Genesis, I guess.
Sure.
But anyway, yeah, he's toting things like that, and I'm like, something tells me you never really played an original Genesis,
Yeah.
That's kind of a thing with these old consoles. You had to turn it off and put your game in and then turn it back on.
Yeah, I guess they've got this mentality where, now you hit eject, and you pop out a disc, but that's very different. So,
yeah. So, but the thing looks pretty cool. And I think the price point is $70.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not too far out of reach, I guess. That if you see one in a store somewhere, you might just be like, screw it, we'll take a shot and just pick it up, I think that's that was the great thing about the price point of like the NES Classic and the soon to come out SNES Classic. They're not at price points that'll break the bank.
Right.
So
it's totally doable, especially with the games you get. So
yeah. And the selection is great on this thing too. I mean, it's missing the Streets of Rage titles. So that's kind of glaring against it, but other than that, it's pretty much got everything that you should have if you're a Genesis enthusiast.
Right.
It's even got some Master System games and some Game Gear games on it.
Wow, that's cool.
I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
It's got like all the Game Gear essentials. It's got all your Sonics and things like that.
I can dig that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
neat, man.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm sort of still on the fence about it. I'm going to wait until a couple more reviews come in on it. Dark Falls just chimed in and he said it's got the Phantasy Star series on it as well, which is really cool. It's got all of them, even the Master System one.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. Well, maybe we won't see this one sitting at the dollar store. So
I don't know.
I mean, not that that's a terrible thing, but it usually means that it's not selling well when you find electronics at the dollar store. So
well, it says it keeps getting compared by a lot of reviewers to the SNES Classic coming out, which isn't exactly fair because Sega themselves, they're not making this thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was just licensed out to At Games. But one thing positive you can say about this At Games unit is that At Games understands that for all of the units that you make, the more you can sell.
That's true.
So chances are you will actually be able to obtain one of these things, unlike the the SNES Classic.
That's the thing with Nintendo. Even their new consoles, proven by the Switch, are hard to get a hold of. That's just ridiculous this day and age.
Yeah.
There's no good reason for that.
And that's a whole other... All right, there's just no reason for it.
No.
Which is a whole other topic altogether, I guess. But
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, I've got some news, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
It's a little bit of drama going on in the Spider-Man world, which I don't know if you care about that, but it's happening regardless.
The Spider-Man movie franchise, or
Yes.
are there Spider-Men out there among us?
Probably both. But I'm speaking of the movies.
Get paranormal now.
Yeah. So Spider-Man Homecoming star Tom Holland's responding to recent criticism by one-time Mary Jane Watson actress Kirsten Dunst. The actress, who starred in 3 Spider-Man films opposite Tobey Maguire, sees the current iteration of the Web Slingers nothing more than a cheap cash grab by the studio. Following several aborted attempts to get a movie off the ground in the 90s, Sam Raimi's 2001 Spider-Man was an important component in the 21st century superhero movie renaissance in which we still currently live. Along with Bryan Singer's X-Men, Raimi's Spider-Man was both a critical and financial smash, proving that superhero films could be made with earnest artistic intent and with important things to say. After an even more universally loved sequel, Raimi's trilogy ended with the disappointing Spider-Man 3. Sony rebooted the series a few years later with Andrew Garfield starring as Peter Parker, but that version of the character never quite took off with audiences or critics. The third time has been the charm, however, as Tom Holland's Spider-Man was an instant hit when he debuted in Captain America Civil War and is currently enjoying solo success with Homecoming. Dunst was less than enthusiastic about the new Spidey, though. In an interview with Variety, she expressed her belief that Spider-Man movies exist for no other reason than cold, cynical profit at this point. We made the best one, so who cares? I'm like, you make it all you want. They're just milking that cow for money. It's so obvious, you know what I mean? Says Dunst. When asked about the comments, Holland made a diplomatic defense. Yeah, I'm going to say that was literally, it's about a Twitter comment long, and it's like, for real, okay. It sounds a little jealous to me since the new one's doing well. Anyway, so Tom Holland has to say in defense, she's entitled to her own opinion. I'm not one to judge at all. I definitely am not doing this movie for the money. I mean, it's a job that I think anyone would do regardless of what you were getting paid, All I know is I had the greatest time on this movie and I absolutely loved it. And if she doesn't want to go and see it, I don't really care. I don't dislike her in any way for what she said. She's entitled to her opinion, so it's all cool. Take that for what you will.
There you go.
It's doing really well. He's not bitter. He's not going to say anything to someone like Kirsten Dunst. But I think it's it looks bad on her. Like, Tobey Maguire is the reason that everything changed. Like, he thought he was too good and too busy, and he ought to be paid more. So fuss at him and not Tom Holland. I mean, I guess it's not directly at Tom Holland, but I just think it's pretty tasteless.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to say anything hateful.
We try to be positive, but sometimes it's just like, stop it. Stop it. Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll leave it at that. But it's an interesting bit of news, I thought, that I don't know. I took her for more of a class act instead of, it just seems so petty for someone.
Like that, I wouldn't expect that from her. You know, I've always liked her for that, you know.
Yeah, she
seemed like one of those more down to earth celebrities.
Exactly. You know, you and I yesterday were speaking about purportedly horrible human beings that are celebrities, and a lot of them surprised us. And I don't necessarily think she makes that group, but she's one of those you're like, I really thought she would be cool. I don't know. Maybe she is. Maybe she's just bitter because she wasn't in it, and, you know, they're doing something else. I don't know.
Maybe, what if she was trying to be sarcastic? Because Twitter doesn't exactly give you the character space for that.
It's true. I don't know. Leet speak or something. But yeah, well, it is what it is, folks. You know, it's doing really well, and good for Tom Holland. That's all I've got to say, I guess. Now here's something pretty cool. The Nightmare Before Christmas is finally getting a follow-up, but not in the way that you'd expect it. Tim Burton's always been known for his ability to take off-kilter approaches to familiar topics, but none of the films he's directed or produced over the years captures the idea quite like The Nightmare Before Christmas. The horrifyingly festive tale of Jack Skellington has become a must-watch for the Halloween and Christmas seasons, and its iconic stories left fans wanting more since its 1993 debut. Now it looks like those prayers will finally be answered, in a way, with a brand new graphic novel series set to hit shelves next year. A report from THR confirms that The Nightmare Before Christmas will soon receive the follow-up comic book tie-in titled Nightmare Before Christmas: Zero's Journey. The book will be published by Tokyo Pop and center on Jack Skellington's dog Zero as he finds himself lost in Christmastown. Not much else is known about the comic tie-in, but the fact that it's expected to debut in spring of 2018. What do you think? I mean, do you care? Do you even care?
I don't know.
That's me. I don't know if I care, but it's relevant to now, I guess.
I don't know if I care because it's about the dog. I'm just sitting here I'm like, oh yeah, that would be really cool. You know, like an expanded graphic novel look, and then it's actually about the dog.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
Darkfall says about Kirsten Dunst, by the way, he thinks it's sour grapes. I agree with that. But what's that about the dog, Ryan? I agree.
How much can you go with there? I think it'd be really cool if they did stories centered around the other characters, but I don't know if you could do like an entire book series on that.
You look at things like Ash versus, Michael versus Jason and things, people at home will sit and write comics for days. And then we're getting like an official entry, an official follow up, and it's going to be about the dog. Right. I guarantee you there's enough fan fiction out there to fill 4 books, what is it, compendiums or whatever. I'm sure there's plenty out there. So reach to the fans and make like a fan-made compendium. How cool would that be?
That would be really cool.
Yeah, I would buy that and like everything I enjoy, like Mega Man and Friday 13th, whatever. Your son and I could read that together since he's a Jason fan. Okay, so that's all I've got for news, but you go ahead and then we'll move on.
That's all the news I've got, really, but I was just going to say that he announced to me today that he's going to be Jason Voorhees for Halloween this year.
That's awesome.
He's got his mind set on it. So,
well, you can't get any more classic than Jason, Michael, Freddy, things like that. So he's doing great.
And man. Last year I didn't see any I didn't see a single Jason Voorhees.
How does that happen?
Oh, yeah. I've seen Jason's like every year since the days of our Halloweens.
Mm-hmm.
I even went as him once.
Right.
But like none. I guess people are too busy being Elsa.
Yeah, that's probably it. Sadly, is I don't really know, but that's probably it. Oh well. Well, let's get to it, folks. Let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to take on the year 1980. We have done our homework, so we actually spent a huge chunk of today alone, just today, for this makeup show, and we want to try to do the year 1980 justice. So, yeah, bear with us, and let's take a quick break, and we'll get back, and we'll get to it. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, let's do this thing, man.
You left him for dead in Konami's Castlevania. How foolish to presume he'd perish without leaving a curse. For now, in Simon's quest for Nintendo, fate stalks your very being, and you'll need more than clues from cowardly villagers to survive when day turns into night. But just keep telling yourself it's only a video game. It's only a...
Fasten your seatbelts and get ready to laugh out loud.
Jim never vomits at home.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Johnny, what can you make out of this?
This? Well, I can make a cap, or a brooch, a pterodactyl.
R-E-S-P-C-T, find out what it means to me. R-E-S-P-C-T, take out TCP. Sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me, sock it to me.
Leslie Nielsen and Robert Hayes had an all-star cast that take off on a hilarious flight. Watch out for Airplane.
And we are back. Thanks everybody who's hanging out with us. Hester Prine, it's good to see you in the house tonight. And Dark Falls, which we've already mentioned. And the slew of others who we still don't know who you are. And that's all right. Your anonymity keeps us moving. All right, Ryan. So I wrote up this little thing. It's a setup for all this year 1980. And let me do that. And then I'm going to hand it off to you because we tried to get slick with it and break it down. And we're going to try to be informative and fun and all that stuff that we always try so hard to be. So let me go ahead and do that if that's all right with you.
That's good. Enchant us with your words.
I will do my best. The year 1980. It began a decade that will, most likely, be considered one of the greatest in the history of pop culture until the end of time. And for that, we're going on this journey 1 year at a time. So join us as we celebrate these years one by one. At the helm of the United States was peanut farmer Jimmy Carter until Time's Man of the Year Ronald Reagan won the presidency later by a landslide. The same year that the Iraq-Iran war began, Saddam Hussein donated $450,000 to a church in Detroit, awarding him the key to the city, if you can imagine that. The Philadelphia Phillies were the World Series champs, the Steelers won the Super Bowl, and the Lakers, led by Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, were the NBA champions. The Grey Poupon guy became a staple in commercial history. CNN became the first 24-hour news station, while Dallas was killing in the ratings with the Who Shot JR storyline. The infamous New Mexico State Penitentiary riot took place where 33 inmates were killed. Mount St. Helens erupted in Washington, killing 57 and causing $3 billion in damage. Cannibal Holocaust movie, if you're not familiar with that one, that's look that up, Cannibal Holocaust. Director Ruggero Deodato was arrested on charges of making a snuff film. And overseas, the first camcorders and fax machines became available in Japan. How cool is that? That is a cool start to the 80s right there, the camcorders. Some of the famous people born in 1980 were Macaulay Culkin, Anna Chlumsky, who co-starred with him in My Girl, Kristen Bell, Channing Tatum, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Yao Ming, along with a lot of others. And an RK out of nowhere, Randy Orton was born.
Oh, wow.
Also, Kim Kardashian and Wilmer Valderrama, both of which 1980 can have back if they'd like. No offense. Anyway, now, this is fun. The cost of living in 1980. An average cost of a new house, $68,700. Compare that to now. What's that going to buy you house-wise now? A shack, essentially.
I was going to say it might have glass in the windows still.
Maybe,
yeah. It might have a floor that's not caved in.
Walmart bags taped over the windows. Yeah. Average income, $19,500, which is, if you consider that, that's pretty great for 1980. Considering the price of things, that's actually not bad. Because $20,000, I think, is still considered fairly good this day and age. So, not too bad for an average income. Now, the monthly rent on average was only $300, so you could do it. You could have about whatever you wanted.
Back then, you could do it.
You could. You could do it.
Not to get political.
Right. Cost of a gallon of gas was on average $1.19, and a new car, $7,200, which also not too bad. What about that? Now, here's the thing. Yeah, let's go back in time. Here is some examples. To live in a ranch home in Syracuse, New York, a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage, $40,500. Take that in. New York, ranch home, 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bath, 2-car garage, $40,000. What does that say about the changes of time? All right, let's lighten it up with a few of the cheaper things. Now, a pound of ground beef was $1.39, and for those of you who shop regularly, it's at least doubled from that.
Right.
Pontiac Firebird, a Pontiac Firebird, which was insanely popular at the time, $5,992.
Wow.
Yeah. A casual men's shirt, $14. Which is kind of about the same, I guess. Magnavox VHS recorder, $6.99. I remember when those were insane. Now, I wasn't alive in 1980, but I remember, you probably remember when you grow up when the first camcorders were really around. They were extremely expensive.
Oh, yeah. I was not allowed to touch ours for a very long time.
VHS home movie camera was $15.99, and I don't mean dollars, obviously. Wow. Yeah. So to have the videos, to record the videos and be able to play them, you were looking at what, $2,300, something like that. Jeez.
Right.
Yeah. Forget the TV. All right. Tomy Cosmic Combat electronic game, $28.99. I think that's a lot for that sort of thing, but at the time video games were so primitive, so that's probably not terrible. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just kind of moving.
We'll get to all that.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head was $477. An LCD pendant watch was $35, and a men's 3-piece suit was $89.95. Now, I don't know how nice of one that would be. I don't know how nice they even could have been in 1980.
You know how awesome it was.
Yeah, it probably looked
awesome.
It was awesome. It looks incredible. Similar to, I was literally just thinking of the scene in Napoleon Dynamite where he's at the thrift store picking up that. Yeah. So there you go. There's a little perspective of what we were doing in 1980. Saddam Hussein had a key to Detroit. The Grey Poupon guy. You could afford to live. It wasn't a terrible time, but it was a weird time when you look back in retrospect anyway. So Ryan, now you have a couple of lists. If you want to do one of them, and then I'll do a list, and however you want to do it.
Joke for you.
All right. I like jokes. Let's do that.
Can you tell me what ended in 1980?
The 70s?
There you go. I was going to say 1979.
Yay. Nailed it. All right. Well, all right. So I've got music and movies and television, and you've got, I think, toys and video games. So however you want to start, sir, completely up to you.
Well, do you want to hear about some toys first?
Sure. Darkfall says he turned 8 in late 1980, so he probably knows about some of these toys.
All right, we'll see if you have some of these.
Yeah.
Or had them. So the Rubik's Cube, that premiered in 1980.
And 3 people still have been able to figure it out.
They advertised it as the puzzle that's never the same.
Ooh, I guess that's fair.
And now we've got, you've seen the crazy Rubik's Cube championships?
I have not, actually.
Like a judge will come and like scramble the thing randomly.
Uh-huh.
And they'll solve it in like 3 seconds.
Jeez.
Not
That's
that
insane.
fast, but it's something ridiculous. I think like championship times are between like 11 and 15 seconds or something like that.
Here we are 30 years later. I've never solved one. I've never put in the time, to be fair, I guess.
I got to the point where I could match like 2 sides of colors, but I could never grasp like solving the entire thing.
That's still pretty legit, though. 2 sides.
Yeah. But that's all the success I had with that.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
So this next thing, I don't know if anybody will remember this or not, but play tents kind of became a thing in 1980. What I mean by a play tent is like essentially like a tent in your living room, but they had themes about them, like some were decorated like a castle. It's kind of like your I guess like a playhouse sort of thing.
Now they have the tent-like things that are, like frozen in cars. So is it similar to that, like the predecessor?
It's exactly the same thing. So that whole kind of thing started in 1980.
That's cool. I did not know that. As I was
looking at images of these things, I actually found somebody had scanned a page out of a Sears catalog, the exact one I looked at as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this was like back in 88 or something, I think, because there was an Optimus Prime play tent, which was like the tractor trailer there, but you could like go inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that so bad, but it never happened. But that kind of blew me away. Like, it's like, oh my God, it's that exact page that I like cried over.
Yeah, doesn't that weird you out to see that, like, 25 years later? It's literally, you can remember staring at it. Yeah, that's weird all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, lucky for you, you can go out and get you one of them tents now.
All right, yeah.
You could put it in your house.
I won't even be able to sit in it. I could put my legs inside of it and lay down.
Yeah, that's about all. We're bigger fellows. We're both over 6 feet, so anyway, too.
All right, so the next thing and this is kind of a fuzzy area, but from what I gather from my research, this is 1980 is where this kind of started becoming a major thing. Was licensed dolls and plushes.
I guess I never questioned when that started. That's cool.
Before that, and I guess, kind of towards 1979, you've got like the teddy bear or like, the baby doll, just generic, name it whatever you want. But 1980 is where you started seeing Garfield plushes and Incredible Hulk plushes and things like that. Actual licensed properties.
That's kind of neat.
Stuffed animals.
I like that.
And that was when Barbie saw her kind of turn around, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was kind of a failing product then.
That's crazy to think about because there's so many collectors now. But yeah, like Barbie dolls kind of crashed, or at least Barbie did kind of crashed like video games did back then.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have that. Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that was also the year of the introduction of the suction cup, which I think we have Garfield to thank for that, I guess.
That's hilarious. What a useful invention.
Can you remember not seeing a car back then without a Garfield, like suction cup to a back window or something?
I actually can't. I remember seeing so many of those when I was young. That's hilarious because that was so common. The sprawled out like it was holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, how fun.
So that's it for the toys
of
1980. The most notable ones, anyway, that I kind of ran across. Like I said earlier, it was kind of difficult researching what actually definitively came out in the year 1980.
Sure.
One other thing to note is the Light Bright kind of came back in 1980.
That's awesome.
But I found out that it was actually invented and they first started marketing it back in 1967.
I knew it was pretty old, but I didn't know it was that old. Yeah.
Yeah, Light Brights are pretty old.
No offense, folks. I don't mean that people are old. I just mean for a product that it felt kind of modern in the 80s because it was all neon like the 80s. I don't know.
In 1980, that's when they finally redesigned it. I think before it was like a tan kind of very 70s looking, I guess I should say. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for. And there were even wood grain or wood panel Light Brights back in the day.
Of course there were. You couldn't have it any other way, right?
So when 1980 came around, that's when, you saw the big white plastic ones and, the curved edges,
Mm-hmm.
And of course those sexy neon colors.
Oh yeah.
Can't forget those.
I like that neon's making a comeback. I've always been a big fan of neon. I guess you had to grow up then to like neon because if you're like a 90s kid, I guess you probably, I don't know, probably into darker things.
Yeah.
Just my guess. I don't know. Anyway.
All right. So that's,
I know he's looking at his list, folks. If you wonder why we're silent for a second, he writes this stuff down by hand. I love that, man. That's the coolest. He has a black book for this show, so it's awesome.
Well, that's everything I've got for toys.
Okay, that's toys then.
You want to tell us about some movies?
Sure. Actually, let's do music first. Let's kind of say for the movies because I think we'll have a lot more to say about that. So, 1980. May I remind you? Now, these were the songs. Now I'm thinking about movies. These were the songs that kind of ruled the year. And I know pretty much all of them, so I have no doubt that any of our older listeners definitely will. And I would say our younger ones too, because most of these are big. Back then when there were hit songs, like everybody heard them and liked them. You would go to like the roller rink or whatever and hear them. Now, I remember that in the late 80s, obviously not, 1980. We weren't around then yet, but there's just some way that you heard them and probably associate them with a good time. Anyway, enough rambling. Blondie, Call Me. We had a little discussion about that earlier. It's fine. It's fine. It's, who was it? What is that band? Let me look up this band. Because someone did it recently. And it's actually
like
okay.
Cover?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. In This Moment. Now, I'm not a huge fan of In This Moment, but she had some kind of gritty rawness to it that just kind of made it awesome. I guess that's kind of what made it good in the first place, but not my favorite song ever. Here you go, though. Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. Now, that's huge. You just...
Yeah, what that's so huge. Like, what do you even say about it?
Yeah, that's it. That is absolutely huge. That's a staple in time right there. That's one of those where time stops.
I didn't realize that was 1980.
Indeed it was.
We're learning all kinds of things tonight.
And here's one just as amazing. Olivia Newton-John's Magic. Nothing wrong with that. Just not quite Pink Floyd. Michael Jackson's Rock With You. Captain and Tennille's. Yeah, that's a great one. Captain and Tennille's Do That To Me One More Time. You would probably know it if you heard it. Irene Cara's Fame. And here's a personal favorite of mine. The Spinners, Working My Way Back to You. Forgive Me, Girl. I love the Spinners. They're so good. Now, this is probably the most widely used one of the list. Lips Incorporated's Funky Town.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, all I think about now is the Chipmunks remake.
Well, that's a shame.
It is a shame, isn't it? Oh, well.
Is that really 1980? Wow.
It was 1980. Yeah.
Huh.
So the interwebs tells me anyhow. Elton John's Little Genie, which is great. Diana Ross, Upside Down. The Pointer Sisters, He's So Shy. He's so shy. He's so shy. KC and the Sunshine Band's Please Don't Go, which is also another favorite of mine. Now this one's fun. The Vapors turning Japanese. I really think so. Yeah.
I thought that was a couple years later.
Yeah, you would think so.
I'm not the biggest like music buff or anything.
You know, if any
go
ahead.
Yeah, I would have pinpointed that a couple of years later, I think.
You know what? If any of these did come out a little later, don't blame me. I cross-checked a couple of lists to make sure, and they seem right. But, you know, I'm going with what I was told. I wasn't born yet. Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight, which is still huge. It's awesome. I love it. Devo's Whip It. Now, this is one I would have called for like 1988. Something like that. I don't know. How can that even be right? Surely that's not right. I'm going to look that up. This list can't be
85.
Right.
I don't know. I thought that was later too.
I have no idea. I'm going to look it up. I cross-checked about half the list and they were on. So nope. August 13th, 1980. Can you freaking believe that? Devo's Whip It. 1980. Yeah.
I guess that's right.
Rupert Holmes' Escape, which is also known as the Pina Colada song. Queen's Crazy Little Thing Called Love, which is amazing. If you've heard Dwight Yoakam's version of it, it's not bad. Billy Joel's It's Still Rock and Roll to Me, which absolutely ruled the charts for a long time. Christopher Cross in Sailing. And last but not least, Queen, Another One Bites the Dust. Queen just tore it up, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, come on, it's freaking Queen.
I don't know if I want to be associated with anybody that doesn't like Queen.
I agree.
We probably wouldn't get along.
I mean, what kind of person are you? Just like, Queen sucks. Like, well,
I've never met that person and I don't want to.
Yeah. I know, you've never met a person who's just like, Bohemian Rhapsody is terrible. Who can even say that?
Yeah, can you even picture somebody like seriously saying that?
Let's just hope it never happens. Well, there's your list of songs of 1980, folks. Those are the ones that kind of tore up the charts and still to this day on classic stations are. So, really good stuff. It goes to show you that music can be timeless when it's good. Unfortunately, we're not getting a lot of that now. I don't think people are going to be listening to, I don't know, Lady Gaga's, second hit 30 years from now. I like Lady Gaga, don't get me wrong, but I just think music has changed a lot, and I know.
No, I like her too. But I get what you're saying. It's like,
will it ever be classic?
Nothing sounds timeless now.
Yeah, that's it. Darkfall says a tone deaf person wouldn't like Queen. Agreed. That's the only person that wouldn't. Freddie Mercury was awesome. Brian May, all those Queen guys, they're just amazing. So yeah, that's my list, man. Like I said, I've got movies and television, but I'm very curious to hear your list of video games or just games in general. Did you go for like board games and electronic games, or is it just video games?
Well, as you know, in the 80s, we're at the moment when arcades are they're getting ready to enter their golden era, as they say.
That is absolutely true. Arcades are I want to play a sound here because arcades are awesome. So let me hit this sound real quick. If you never went into an arcade and heard that, you never went into an arcade.
Probably not. Because
was that relevant somehow, Ryan?
Could be.
Could be.
So, number one on the list is Pac-Man, 1980.
Pac-Man.
was
Pac-Man?
The debut of Pac-Man in the arcades.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done with Pac-Man. That's awesome.
So yeah, Pac-Man is notable, of course. Not only is it a fun game, but he was the first mascot, really, of video games.
I guess when you think about it, yes.
Back.
Yeah, because the Pong Dot was not a mascot. So.
It's either that or you're just like a generic spaceship.
That's it, yeah.
Of some sort, or a little generic astronaut dude, I guess. They didn't have much of a story behind it, of course. Another interesting fact about Pac-Man is that he was going to be called Puck-Man.
Huh. What about that?
Yeah. So
why the change? Any good reason?
Well, if you think about kids back then, and they were afraid.
I get it. Never mind.
There would be vandalisms that people would take quarters and scratch out a portion of the P.
That absolutely would have happened many times. So okay.
Yeah. So
right on.
Not a good thing.
Nope.
But another fun fact about Pac-Man is he caused the first coin shortage in Japan.
Wow. Okay.
So over here, Pac-Man machines were locking up because they couldn't empty the coin trays fast enough.
That's crazy.
If the arcade owner wasn't on top of it and, emptying out the coin trays, the machine would just get jammed full of quarters. So, yeah. In Japan, though, there was an actual coin shortage. Like, people were playing Pac-Man so much that the government had to say, no, stop.
Wow, that's crazy.
Until coins could recirculate again.
Why can't we do for charity that way? You're doing too much. Calm down.
Yeah.
A Darkfall says an asterisk. It could have been. That's true. An asterisk would have been definitely the picture perfect video game guy for a while at least. He said he was called Puku Man in Japan. Okay. I can see how people would definitely mess with the P on that as well. So anyway. So what else? What else was in video gaming in 1980?
Okay, so we're gonna kind of stick to the arcade here.
Cool.
Centipede also came out in 1980.
That's a favorite of mine, absolutely.
And also had a hand in coin shortages and locked up machines.
Awesome. I'll never forget playing Pac-Man at Pizza Hut, by the way. I meant to mention that a second ago and I forgot. You know that flat table where you kind of go in and you and a buddy can sit down? I love that.
Yeah, what do they call those? Tabletop coin op?
Wow, that's fancy. I didn't know there was a term for it. That's cool. I like it.
Missile Command came out that year as well.
Ooh.
So you can kind of see a pattern here with these classics. Like, this was, as I said earlier, the start of the golden age of the arcade. Like, this was its heyday, but certainly not the end, which we'll talk about when we get closer to the 90s.
Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but we're doing this year by year. So every show or whatever, half the show will be focused on a year. So we will get to the 90s, and we'll probably do the show for the 90s as well, because the 90s were pretty awesome too. Mm-hmm. We'll probably stop at about 99. Just guessing, but that's probably where we'll stop. So yeah. All right. Well, so what else? Was there anything, were handhelds or watch games or anything like that?
So one more for the arcade here. Space Panic was released. Have you ever heard of that?
I have heard of it, but I have no clue what it is.
Cool. I had forgotten it. The significance of it is, it never really did too well, I guess. Not up against like Pac-Man and Centipede and all that. But,
sure.
It's said to be the grandfather of all platformer games.
Ooh.
So before that, everything, like I said, you're either in a spaceship or if you're not in a spaceship fighting aliens, you're probably in a top-down maze or some kind of top-down level running around. So Space Panic was the first arcade game to take place on a 2D plane. So you're actually like looking at the character from the side.
Wow. So leading to things such as Donkey Kong and Mario later, huh?
Yeah. So it actually predates Donkey Kong by a year.
That's cool.
So if you just kind of glance at the screen, it looks a lot like Donkey Kong.
I wonder which one will be more successful, but we'll have to wait and see in 1981, won't we?
Right. Exactly. So you actually couldn't jump in that game. You had to dig holes. To ascend the level, you had to go up the ladders.
That's like opposite Bionic Commando.
Yeah. So you had to dig holes to trap aliens. Weird game. But
Sounds
anyway,
like
that's kind of like your first sort of precursor to the 2D platform.
That's cool. What was that called again for folks out there who want to look it up?
Space Panic.
Space Panic. So yeah, check that out.
So let's take things out of the arcade and we'll go back home now.
Okay.
The Atari port of Space Invaders came out for the Atari 2600 in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And the significance of that is it was the first console game ever to sell 1 million copies.
Ooh.
So that game kind of solidified wow, there's something to this video games thing.
I'm going to be corny again and say, man, I bet video games are going to do great forever on. I guess we'll have to wait and see, though, won't we?
Right.
Later shows.
Now, I've never actually owned one, and I'll admit I don't know a whole lot about it, but the Mattel released the Intellivision as well.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm.
So we're starting to see competitors to the 2600, and people are starting to kind of abandon their Pong clones.
Well,
that's not to say that that's not to say that handhelds were completely abandoned, though. Lots of companies were releasing electronic sports handhelds, like electronic football and things like that. Now, I actually do remember as a kid, I think I inherited this from my dad. I was born in 82, but he had a little 2-player electronic football game.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't have how do I describe this? It didn't have an actual display screen. It had like a football grid, like a plastic grid with holes in it with light up, lights beneath the grid, so you could tell where the players were.
I remember seeing those when I was little. I haven't seen one in 20 years,
and it made very awful buzzing noises. But, it was good fun.
Good electronics, I'm sure.
Yeah. So also in handhelds, Nintendo started their Game & Watch series in 1980.
Oh.
So the little Nintendo handhelds that, if you've ever seen one, they kind of look like the Nintendo DS does now.
Right.
They did the dual screen. It was essentially, they were like Tiger Electronic games. Predating that by 10 years or so.
What are those? We're in 1980. God, nothing can be really worse than those Tiger games, though. Those right. I remember getting those from girlfriends for Christmas and things, and they're just terrible. But man, did they look cool?
They do.
You would
look
see
nice in a collection too.
That's
you've got a bunch of them. They look really cool.
But they're just garbage to play.
Useless.
They are. The artwork on them. I remember having, Ninja Turtles and Batman and baseball and football. And it's man, this is going to be a great experience. And then you play it and it's this is going to light up parts of the screen at separate times. Yeah. This is very predetermined and not moving at all. This sucks.
What was great about the Game & Watch games were I think the problem with Tiger games is they were trying to do too much with those. They're trying to make they made the Castlevania one. How do you make a 2D platformer? on a single screen.
It's true.
Like digital watch technology.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Game & Watch stuff, they were never like overly ambitious. Like they made a simple game that made sense for, you know, the little hardware that you had.
Nintendo used to be really smart, didn't they?
Yeah. Wonder what happened.
That's what I was going to say. That went out the door, but you know, up through the SNES, they were a really smart company. Kind of dirty, but they knew what they were doing. So,
yeah. Try to get away with it, with things while you can.
That's true. It catches up eventually. Laws. And
so that's it for the electronic doodads and quarter munchers and battery drainers. 1980.
For 1980 at least, yeah. Dark Falls said he had a Pac-Man watch in 86. That's awesome. I couldn't read a watch in 86, so that's cool.
Watches.
What's that?
Those Tiger Game watches. You remember those?
I definitely remember those. I see stuff like that from time to time, like in cases at like retro game stores, and I'm just like, they're really neat to look at, but I know that I would never wear it nor use it, and it'd be completely useless. It's one of those, like we talk about, like the ColecoVision. Like, if you didn't own one, I don't see the point of having one now. That's kind of how I feel about those. You know, they're neat, but
yeah, it's like, you know, unless you found it at a yard sale for
that's it,
really cheap, you know. But I'm not going to steal that away from somebody that was truly passionate about it.
You and I aren't collectors. We are players. We try to have the games that we always wanted and never had, plus the games we loved, and that's it. Like, we're not trying to take away and have like 7 copies of something rare to keep away from everybody else for value.
That's just silly.
It is. We play our games. Call it crazy. It is crazy this day and age, isn't it? Whatever. We'll just be crazy. He says in 86 it was the stuff, but now it's hokey. Yeah, no. I would never say that it wasn't amazing back then. I would still enjoy it now, but yeah, it's if we weren't in a retro craze, people today would be like, well, that's just stupid. I don't get it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
But, you know, we're in this retro craze where, oh, that's so cool. Look what I have. Something that's older than my uncle, you know? So, yeah, that's the way it is. All right. So is that all you have for video games at all, or?
Yeah, that's all I wrote down for video games.
Okay.
Everything's significant of 80. I think Pac-Man kind of being the biggest one. I think Pac-Man kind of paves the way. That's kind of the start. The starting point of video games today, I think.
Absolutely. You have
traced all the way back to that point. So
it starts with the ball and the asterisk, and then it becomes Pac-Man, and then Mario, and then you get Sonic in there, and you have these idols like anything else. It's cool. That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do the television, because I don't think we will have a lot to say about it. I haven't watched a lot. I mean, I've seen all these shows, but haven't spent a great deal of time with them. And then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and do movies in our second half of the show. So let's do the television half here. All right, folks, you guys may remember this better than he or I do, and that's okay. So the top ranked one of 1980 was Dallas, and that's got a lot to do with Who Shot JR. Now, I've got
I watched the hell out of Dallas.
Dallas is actually pretty awesome. I am a junior to my father, and my grandma had a shirt hanging as you would walk down the basement. It was a Who Shot JR shirt. And for years I was like, I don't get it, but it had to do with that show. I thought that was pretty cool.
So I started watching it as they started running it on Nick at Night.
They did. It's true.
And I just like marathon that stuff.
Patrick Duffy is amazing. That's why I watch Step by Step.
So we get to the Who Shot JR saga.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to my dad. I'm like, who shot JR?
You have to know.
Have to tell me. I don't want to wait like for another night of this. Like,
now imagine being in 1980 and waiting a week. Like,
yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Because I remember like Nick at Night, you know, they would show like 4 episodes at a time.
Yeah.
The next night. So it was
it killed you to wait a whole night. That's hilarious.
This was the precursor to Netflix binging.
It's true. Nick at Night was amazing. I wish they still did it now. I know that they still showed some stuff at night, but it's not the same. They used to show like that and Wonder Years and Happy Days, and then of course you would have like Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda and things like that. Alfred Hitchcock. Oh man,
it's funny how kids in the 90s, like I've talked to a lot of people that watched Nick at Night. Like that was kind of a 90s kid thing. Like,
yeah, Megan, who's on Spook House Radio. Mm-hmm. She's huge into that.
So like after dark, you're watching your parents' old television shows.
It's true. I still, man, if I catch like Andy Griffith on, I'll watch it like all day long. I will marathon Andy Griffith. I bought like the first 5 seasons of Happy Days and Wonder Years. It's like, these are great shows by any time standards. They're well written. You really, I think with shows like those, you're like, man, I miss the simpler times. I think that's what's so provoking about them, is we're in such a hateful, everybody's got to have it today kind of time, and things were just a lot cooler back then.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Dallas. Just to steer us back, Dallas was awesome. Now here's a favorite of mine.
Play the theme song if you've got it.
I don't have it handy. I could look it up. Here is one that you and I both enjoy a lot. The Dukes of Hazzard. They were tearing it up right after Dallas. CBS tore up the charts, man. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of the top 10 shows were CBS. CBS was tearing it up then. Now they've got Big Bang, and that's about it, I think. But the Dukes, man, them old Duke boys are at it again. I love the Dukes of Hazzard.
I've always been curious what the budget of that show was, because I heard somewhere once that they were lucky if they could keep one of those cars going, like beyond an episode.
I never heard that. That's
like they were. Like they do a huge jump or something, and it would just like completely demolish the bottom of the car.
I can imagine, sure.
So it was somewhere, and apparently they used to sell them. Like after they were done filming or whatever, like you could go down to the CBS lot or somewhere wherever they were filming this stuff and buy like a busted up Generally.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Of it. So there's not really like a graveyard of these things somewhere. I think they were kind of pieced out over the years.
Okay.
But yeah, they just didn't last. They didn't last jumping that dry creek bed.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born.
All right. I could sit there and listen to that song all day. That's a good song. It's a good theme, man. They nailed it with it. Just an all-around good show. I think it encapsulates a lot about the South, and it kind of reminds you of Smokey and the Bandit, which is obviously huge then and now still, really. It's still well known. It's just a lot of fun. It's one of those. You can imagine 1980. It's pretty darn exciting. Because what else are you doing?
Did you happen to catch the reunion movie of that?
I did, yes.
Where the original cast came back. That was one of the last VHS tapes I ever got, I think.
Wow, okay.
Like I watched it on TV. Mm-hmm. Like when it premiered, and I was like, Dad, can I order the... Because right after it, they were like, do you want to own the reunion movie?
And you were like,
call
yes.
now. So...
That's awesome. That it was like the scene in Napoleon with Rex Quad. No, can you pull me into town? Yes. But yeah, the Dukes were great.
Into town.
You used to buy stuff off TV, but that would probably be fun for a show. Playing some of those ads, some of those television commercials where you can purchase things off TV. People used to do that.
I'll tell you now, like I don't trust like calling someone and reading my card number over the phone anymore.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Like I would much rather go to a web page to where, I know that all of this stuff is for the most part being, encrypted and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are dirty ways around that as well, but in general, I feel safer, handling my own credit card rather than verbally giving it to a stranger over the phone.
Remember cash on delivery? COD? A company would trust you enough to send it to you?
Yeah, I've never experienced that.
I did once.
Like,
right after the PlayStation came out. Well, it'd been out about a year or two. And then they started making the cheat devices. It would patch into the back. I don't know if you ever used one.
I remember them. Yeah.
I always wanted to, like, with the games, you know, like Silent Hill, I wanted, like, to be able to do whatever I wanted. So I bought one of those and I got it cash on delivery. Sure enough, it came and the guy took my money at the door, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. One time I ever had it happen, and it was amazing.
I'm trying to, like, think of the logistics of that. Like, how does that work? Right. Wasn't he just like a mailman or like UPS
he was
guy or something?
There's a lot of trust that goes into it.
Like, he has to go somewhere back to the center or whatever, and then like mail your money to the company.
No, I suppose so. I suppose.
I don't know. It just seems like a big headache.
This day and age, it wouldn't work, obviously.
Issue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, people would. If you could get stuff delivered, you know, without having to pay for it up front, people would be. They'd be robbing the UPS guy.
Oh yeah, no question about it. All right, number 3 on the list of 1980s television shows is 60 Minutes, and I have very little to say about that. A huge show. I remember growing up seeing my grandparents watch it, you know.
I just remember the clock ticking thing, like, oh, this is serious business.
Yep, the next 60 minutes. Yep, that's about it.
Like, are we going to die in the next 60 minutes?
Something big is going down within the 60 minutes. The next one, MASH, which is huge. I'm actually not a fan. I'm sorry for the folks out there who love it, but I just never got into it.
I never really got into it either, and up until fairly recently. My dad likes the show, and I watch it with him whenever I visit my parents. So, like, it's kind of becoming a new favorite, I guess.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's mainly just, you know, I like watching it with my dad, you know?
Yeah. That's different. I mean, and it will help you get into it. I definitely understand that for sure.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. You realize when you sit down, you're like, these shows are a lot older than I thought they would be. I've come up on that a lot. You know, I thought that a lot of the things I knew were a lot more modern, but now here's one that I didn't really watch much, and I'll hit the theme on it. Do you know what that is yet?
Is that the Love Boat?
It is indeed.
Exciting and new.
Well, I'm sold. It's exciting and new. Nothing wrong with the show. I've just never really been exposed to it that much, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever really sitting down and gave it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I'm sure it's probably pretty good. So. Apparently. You do know the theme song pretty well, yeah. Somehow that is in your brain. All right, so number 6 is, I've always loved it, The Jeffersons. Jeffersons is awesome. And come on, man, that theme song, which I'm ashamed I don't actually have on hand. Beans don't burn in the kitchen. Isn't that how it goes?
Yeah.
And that is such a good theme song, man. I love it. The show is really great, too, George Jefferson. Mm-hmm. I love that they had the crossovers and things back then. Like, he would show up in other shows. Which was
I think
cool.
That's sort of, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that sort of pioneered that idea.
I think so. Yeah, that was the first that I was aware of it, at least.
Something like Laverne and Shirley. They're come over one day.
They are They are actually a what do they call that?
Spinoff.
A spinoff of Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, so it's like all these shows are like in the same universe.
And yeah, like Mary Tyler Moore and Rhoda, aren't they in the same universe, I think? So yeah.
They are.
So kind of cool. It was a neat time. The things they did were innovative and the shows were pretty well written. I'm sure there's plenty of stinkers, but
it invented the concept of the the entertainment multiverse.
Hey, it did. Next on the list, we have Alice at number 7. Now, Alice is one I know literally nothing about.
I'm having trouble thinking of what that even is.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Number 8 is House Calls, which I also know nothing about.
I don't recall that either.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you folks
experts.
Right, we clearly know our stuff, but no, we weren't even born then. So
hey, you just wait till we get to. I was born in 82, so you wait till we get to like 85.
Yeah, that's when we'll start to shine. When you got Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, and things, Transformers, that's when we'll really shine. All right, so
we're gonna have like 1986 Part 3 or Night 3.
We'll have to do like a whole week event for one year. Yeah, it's true. You never know.
That was the Turtles episode. Now we're moving on to Ghostbusters.
A week extravaganza of the Ghostbusters. All right, now here's one that I do know really well. Number 9 is Three's Company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, God, I love Three's Company. That's still a great show. Or maybe I'm alone in that.
Well, I agree with you.
Okay.
It's a great show.
Yeah, Megan hates... after the Suzanne Summers leaves, she doesn't like the other girl. I'm like, she was fine. But no, she's no Suzanne Summers.
There's that's kind of a different subject, but like when shows kind of died for the mainstream audience,
mm-hmm.
like what's a good example? Okay, like in Dukes of Hazzard, when like Bo and Luke leave. Why did they leave? I can't even remember.
I don't remember, but it's like, what?
And like their cousins came, like
the cousins.
Hey, we just showed up like coincidentally as they're leaving.
How convenient.
They didn't even do like a handoff episode.
Yeah, I certainly don't recall it. I don't remember what happened, but you lose it there. There's just not much you can say about it besides you lose it there.
I'm going to jump all the way to the late 90s here.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Same thing happened with X-Files. You know, David Duchovny, he left for stupid reasons, and they had like a new cast. Like, it just makes your ratings kind of tank for a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's nothing really wrong with the replacement cast, I guess, other than that they're a replacement cast.
That's it. You get so used to these characters, and you just don't want it any other way, I guess.
But Dukes of Hazzard, like, that was weird. Like, those guys were fine, but it's like, these are my great value Duke boys. No, right. I miss the name brand.
Always great value with you. We're never going to get Walmart as a sponsor. But I agree.
Is it not the perfect way to convey like a knockoff?
It is. And as I said, we've always got Laura Lynn to look forward to. So,
yeah.
But it makes perfect sense because like you wouldn't want to go to like watch WrestleMania and see like Hulk's cousin Bill Hogan, you know, the Billster.
Maybe I do.
Yeah, or maybe you do.
So we would be having that conversation like, what happened to Hulk Hogan that time?
Yeah.
Like, you remember Bill Hogan that randomly showed, like, what was up with all of that?
You remember the Billster? Yeah, I remember him. Not quite the Hulkster, though. All right, so...
He was the Bulkster.
So there's no replacing Chrissy, and there's no replacing Fox or Mulder. So you see why...
Hulk Hogan.
You know, I'm going to say with Andy Griffith, there was something that went the other way. When they started adding, like, when it got color and there was more, like, Howard and stuff, that's when I lost interest.
Yeah.
It was like they didn't lose people so much as they just added. And I'm like, I missed the core.
Did you ever watch Gomer Pyle?
I did, USMC. That's actually, I love that show.
That's some funny stuff, yeah.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and he's an amazing singer you wouldn't think it. But
yeah, that was an Andy Griffith spinoff.
It was, yes. All right, and last on my list of television shows tearing up 1980, Little House on the Prairie. Very different.
Never cared for it.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I didn't either, but it's one of those. What's that movie that's like 9 hours? Anne of Green Gables or something like that. It's like that's the show of it. And it's like, it's just kind of sad sometimes. It's like, wow, those people didn't have it good. I don't know if I could get into a show about that.
There's going to be some very angry people with this.
Well, that's the way it goes.
But hey, if you want to say anything to us, send us a comment.
Please do. Send them all at Ryan. No, I'm joking. Darkfall says in Gomer Pyle USMC, in the opening credits, those were real Marines marching with him. That's cool. Didn't know that. Neat. He seems like one of those good guys, Gomer Pyle. It's like in
I want to say there was some kind of scandal going on with the actor, but I don't remember.
Aw.
Maybe I can do some research on that.
It's like with Happy Days, Potsy was actually a really good singer to be such a doofus. He had an actual singing career. Speaking of that, he and Ralph Malph are going to be in Knoxville, Tennessee for the little con that's coming this October, along with Sergeant Slaughter from G.I. Joe and WWF. So there's actually a lot of cool people coming. So check that out. I'll do more info on that as it gets a little closer. It says he was sleeping with Rock Hudson. Oh, all right. Well, there you go. Did not know that.
What?
I'm assuming Gomer Pyle, huh? Rock Hudson, yeah.
Okay.
In 1980, Darkfall says he was watching Buck Rogers. I was not. I was uninvented, but I might have watched it if I been invented yet.
Your dad was hopefully not doing things that would end his life and prevent you from existing.
Yes. Multiverse. That's got to happen. So, all right. Well, that's all I've got for television. I'm sorry that I rambled on that one, but I guess it was a little more interesting than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one of those that you go into it and you're like, this could be a 5-minute thing.
It left me missing Nick at Night. That's for sure.
Yeah. Can we get together, everybody, and do a thing and get Nick at Night back on the air, because we need it.
Send me some Mary Tyler Moore VHS tapes.
Yeah, we have VCRs, folks. We do. I just bought 2 new ones from Goodwill. Well, new. That's not the proper word. New to me from Goodwill for $10 for both. Yeah, new to the family. All right, so let's take a break, and then we'll come back and do the movies and then the other subjects. Is that all right?
Sounds good to me.
Because Two Dudes is doing a thing next weekend, and I would like to promote that. So, yeah, let's do a quick promo section, and we'll be right back, guys.
Sounds good.
Hey, all you lovers of gaming, head over to Two Dudes Gaming in Elizabethton on August 5th and 6th from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. for a swap meet Rooney. Bring your own games, systems, gaming stuff you like to trade with others, but also bring your own table, car, covers, drinks, snacks for your stay. Come hang out. Not only can you trade with others, they'll also be giving 50% trade bonus in store. So come down to the swap meet Rooney at Two Dudes Gaming, 831 Broad Street, Elizabethton, Tennessee, August 5th and 6th from 11 a to 6 p.
It's about to happen. Zayre is stocking up for a grand opening sale you won't want to miss. Setting out special grand opening bargains everywhere you look. We're celebrating the opening of our new store at 115th Street and South Halsted Street. And every Zayre store in Chicagoland is joining in. A great grand opening sale just when you need it. Just in time for spring. Just about to start in every Zayre store. It starts 10 a.m. Sunday.
Hope you're enjoying the show tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. But the fun doesn't have to stop there. If you head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com, you can download all the old episodes and listen to them as you want. Also, feel free to use the contact link and send us your messages. We might read them on air. Once again, head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com. And we are back once again. And thank everybody that's hanging out with us. We've got a new face, Sarah Malone. Hello and welcome. Hopefully we're not rambling too bad on old
Sarah.
stuff. Yeah. Is that okay?
Sarah. Yeah.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us.
Yeah, and thanks
That's awesome.
everybody who has stayed with us so far. We're really glad we haven't ran you off. You never know. Going into a show, it could go any direction. You never know. All right, so now we are doing, for those of you who might be new to the stream right now, we are doing the year 1980 from the movies, the television, the games, and everything. We have done everything besides the movie. So let's get to that, and then we've got another subject, actually. We came prepared for this one. Ryan, there's some pretty big movies from 1980. I think you already saw the list, but let's pretend you didn't, okay? Let's pretend I'm about to blow your mind with what happened in 1980. All right, on the big screen, The Empire Strikes Back. Hits theaters.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know that,
Arguably, for some, the best of the original trilogy.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to argue with that. You know, now when it comes to the 90s, there were 1980, there were other movies that were higher on my list, but I don't think in the world anywhere any of my favorites would outrank that. Come on. It's freaking Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm. What can you say about that?
What
it's always an event.
Mm-hmm.
For better or worse, no matter how good they are, Star Wars is always an event.
Always. Yeah, you get to, you know, it used to be really nerdy when all the people would get together and they would, you know, cosplay and things. I remember now everybody now wants to act like, oh no, that's never been nerdy. It's always been cool. No, it wasn't. It didn't used to be cool to do this. This show would have been a big nerd show that like 4 people would have been in on, you know? So yeah, that's cool though. Huge movie to start off the year. I don't know if you know this one, 9 to 5 with Miss Dolly and a lot of really.
I love that movie.
Right, me too. Like lots of cool co-stars in that one, man. That's a delightful movie. If you haven't seen 9 to 5, you need to because you're totally missing out, everybody. For me, it was Empire 1960. Then Flash Gordon says Dark Falls, and Sarah Malone says, "Thanks, I finally got a chance to listen in. We're really glad you did. So thanks." All right. I don't even know which one to list next. For one, it's hard to follow up The Empire Strikes Back, but have you seen this one, Stir Crazy, with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder?
I have, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's for those who don't know, that's the one where they're in prison and they plan this great scheme to escape, and it's both hilarious and pretty inventive, really. They were an amazing duo. What's the other one? See No Evil, Hear No Evil. That was a great one. They were timeless, man. Those movies and the actors. Freaking Willy Wonka. I mean, what more do you need to say, right? All right, now Airplane.
Oh God.
I played the trailer to that one earlier. Don't Call Me Shirley. Leslie Nielsen is hilarious.
Those movies with Leslie Nielsen, is that the genre? Like Leslie Nielsen movie?
Sure, yeah, I think so.
Like, they're nothing like anything that's out anymore.
No, like the Naked Gun series. I remember seeing, I think the second one maybe in the theater.
They're so weird, and I don't even know how to describe it, what I'm trying to say. But they just don't make comedies like that anymore.
They don't. They absolutely don't. It's
funny.
Dracula Dead and Loving It is freaking hilarious. So there you go.
I think they say that's kind of the last movie of that kind.
Oh, really?
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I thought Spy Hard might have came after that, but I'm not real sure, I guess.
I thought Dead and Loving It was his last
maybe
sort of movie.
It was it was hilarious, so good on him if it was even. They
say the Scary Movie. Do you remember those?
Oh yeah. Those are hilarious.
And I sort of agree with it, that they sort of follow in the footsteps of that sort of genre of
I can
comedy.
see that, yeah.
But even those have kind of disappeared.
It's like they take everything and mock. Yeah. Now the first two I thought the first one I thought it was really groundbreaking for a modern era movie to do like the Naked Gun thing. And then the second one was a pretty solid sequel. I'll never forget Chris Elliott and that little hand that he's trying to like feed that girl turkey or whatever. And I'm sorry to laugh so ridiculously, but
hanging off the edge of the castle.
Yeah.
Take my hand.
Take my hand.
No.
That is David Cross is hilarious in that movie. Like pretty much everybody is. They really nailed Scream like to the wall in the first one, and they kind of continued with the second one having, what is it, Cindy or Sydney?
Yeah.
She's Anna Faris is hilarious.
Anna Faris is like, yeah.
That is a genre that we need more of. So if you can do that out there, I think Tucker and Dale versus Evil kind of did the same thing. It wasn't directly mock you style, but it was they took all the cliches and laughed at them.
It's such a good movie. If you've not seen that, guys, like, you have to watch Tucker and Dale.
Kids keep offing themselves on my property.
Such a good movie. Like, that completely was out of the blue for me. Like, I can't believe how good that was.
I randomly saw it at the local video store, and I was like, well, that looks fun. And just randomly rented it, and it's so great. If you haven't seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil, highly suggest that you do. I think if you're into comedy at all, it's my strong hand. That's what Mookie Mook has to say. Yeah, these movies, man. Movies are great. Anyway, all right. Any Which Way You Can. Now that is an oddity in one actor's. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a really great movie. Have you seen it?
Any Which Way You Can?
Yes.
Is that where they've got the monkey with them, or?
I was gonna let me read.
No,
this
I'm thinking of something completely different.
No. Yeah, you're thinking of Any Which Way But Loose. A trucker turned prize fighter, his brother, and their pet orangutan. Have a series of misadventures involving the mob, corrupt cops, motorcycle gangs, and pretty dames. No, now maybe I'm confusing it too. Let me go back.
I just remember the big takeaway from that was Clint Eastwood taking the orangutan back to the zoo to get laid.
That's Any Which Way You Can. Yes, Any Which Way But Loose that's the one that we had it confused with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It's been forever since I've seen those, but they're pretty fun films.
You know what? On IMDb, they come up with the same synopsis. So there's that, folks. One's from 78 and one's from 80. And I don't know which is which. So that'll be a mystery for our paranormal show Friday. Sarah Malone says, I vaguely remember Any Which Way You Can. Mostly the orangutan sticks out in my memory. Yeah, that's the one that kind of reminds you, I think.
Didn't they both have the orangutan?
They did. So what is it? Sequels? Yeah. We need to just go and watch those. I feel ignorant about them.
Kind of like, I can't believe they made a sequel to that movie.
Right.
Why would you do that kind of thing?
I can't remember which one was first. One was 78 and one was 80. And that's where the confusion came in.
I want to say that Any Which Way But Loose was the first one.
I think so. I think you're right about that. But Clint Eastwood, man, come on, right?
If
we don't remember that.
This is probably like face palming right now.
I raised him better than that. I'm so ashamed. Well, here's one of my favorites. Coal Miner's Daughter with Loretta Lynn. Yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah, good flick.
Yeah, it's kind of sad though to see I don't know, to see his little girl who he loves so much, run off with this crazy soldier or whatever. And I don't know. It's a great movie. It's a wonderful story. It's kind of sad. It's really down home. If you like movies, in my opinion, if you like movies like 9 to 5 and Best Little Whorehouse in Texas,
love that.
What else? Forrest Gump, even Sling Blade. If you like these down home kind of small town movies, these Southern folks, then I think Coal Miner's Daughter is a must.
Looks like Sarah was a big fan too.
Yeah.
So that was so good. Coal Miner's Daughter was awesome.
If you rewatch Any Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can, please clear that up for us because we're clearly ignorant about it. I would love to see them again, but
I can probably clear that up by tomorrow. I'm pretty sure I've got Any Which Way But Loose on VHS around here.
Sweet. That's the way to watch it too. All right, here's one that I enjoyed, Blue Lagoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's I remember I've asked my friends for my whole life. I'm like, hey, I remember being like, I don't know, 12 on like a Sunday afternoon, like, between like the school weeks, and I just happened to catch that movie, and it's like, it's weird, kind of, sure, but it's also kind of awesome. I don't know. What, have you seen it?
Yeah, I have.
I have not seen the sequels,
but it's supposedly there's like 2 or 3 of them in there.
Yeah, I remember Brooke Shields and thinking she was just gorgeous naturally in that. She's beautiful anyway, no doubt, but I don't know, the whole thing kind of icks you out, but it kind of has to go there.
Yeah.
And I don't think they would now. Yeah. The second movie was good and the third wasn't that great, says Sarah. Well, good. I'll probably avoid the third, but I wouldn't mind seeing the second. I wouldn't mind seeing the first again, to be honest with you. It's been what? Probably
I don't know if
20 years.
I'm pretty sure I've only seen the first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. It'd be cool to see the second one. Next is come on, this one's Cult. The Blues Brothers. One of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
Man, I love when they break it down with that funky rock and jazz kind of stuff. And they go into that bar and, they got all the people throwing beer bottles at them until they start playing the right kind of music. Stand by your man. Freaking Dan Aykroyd, top of his game, man.
Mm-hmm.
John Belushi, amazing.
It's kind of hard to believe that if all you know is modern Dan Aykroyd, I can imagine that would be like hard to believe that he was in that.
Right. Like, yeah, if you know him as like this fast talking, extremely smart, very paranoid, I think, kind of paranormal guy. And then you know him as one of the Blues Brothers. Come on. I love the Blues. I'm going to double check that did come out in 1980, but I feel pretty good that it did. But again, I want to check my data. Let's see here. Let's check and make sure, because that's one of those you don't want to screw up. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I love it, man. But Elwood and Jake Blues, come on. It had a huge cast. It had, let's see, who all was in it? Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, James Brown. I mean, come on. Carrie Fisher, I forgot about that. She had a little part in it. How cool is that? So yeah, that's one of those to get excited about. And believe it or not, Megan has not seen that. So everyone on here who knows her be like, you have to watch that now.
In your best Batman voice.
Yes, I am the Batman. Yeah, I loved when he sang Rawhide. Yeah, Rawhide. That's such a cool movie. Y'all are getting me excited, dude. We need to everybody get together on here one night and watch the Blues Brothers. I would be down for that.
We should do a movies in the park kind of thing.
That would be super cool. We're all pretty local. Truth is, we all probably could.
Get a little projector set up, hang up a bed sheet, out in the park, play a movie.
I tried to buy a projector the other day, and Megan wouldn't let me. I was like, but hey, any wall could be your cinema all of a sudden. She's like, well, we don't have any wall space, and I can't argue with that. It's poster ridden. So, but I'm just saying. All right, Blues Brothers, one night soon, we need to all at least get on here and hang out from where we are, and maybe hit start at the same time. If everybody has if everybody has a copy of it. I'll actually have to pick it up, but that'd be so cool. Mookie Mook says, I'd love to. Darkfall says, I love when the Nazis were chasing them. That's hilarious. Yeah. That whole movie's good. All right. So Urban Cowboy, never caught it myself, but I know that it's pretty huge to the people who have seen it. So for all of you out there, yes, Sarah, I'll have to get a copy as well. I actually don't have it. I do not own the Blues Brothers, and I'm very ashamed of myself. You don't need to be, but I should be, because I have had it in my hands at stores used for like $8 3 or 4 times, and I passed it up, which is, there's no excuse for that. That's bad on me. So yeah, Urban Cowboy. There you go. John Travolta. It's about all I have on that. Have you seen it?
I just can't recall that.
Yeah. Well, if it didn't have a monkey in it, or
yeah,
that's probably why. All right. Well, moving on. If you guys have seen it, awesome. Tell us about it. I mean, I know of it. I just haven't ever watched it. The Shining. Jack Nicholson. Come on. Like, I have a friend who hasn't seen that, and I'm just like, how? How have you not seen The Shining? But that's an incredibly huge, like, punch in time. You know, every time you see it. It's a fun
movie to watch around the holidays.
Right. It is. All the snow, and it's wonderful. Yeah. How has someone not seen it? It's beyond me. I have no idea. Of course, I'm the guy who's never seen Indiana Jones. So who am I to speak, I guess, huh?
What?
Why do you act surprised I've told you like 4 times and you're surprised every time.
Maybe I just don't believe it whenever I hear it.
Maybe. Could be that. I've never seen it, so we need to watch it. You said what? It was on Amazon?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
On Amazon, actually.
Oh, she's not seen Indiana Jones either. See?
What?
It's not just me. So when you criticize me and hurt my feelings, you're hurting hers too. You big bully. No, I'm joking. No, he just says we need to see
Hang on
it.
a second.
Okay.
I'm just gonna.
You're gonna check.
No, I just gotta unfriend you guys on Facebook real
right.
quick.
No, we don't want to be your friend anyway. You haven't seen Urban Cowboy. Why would we want to be your friend?
Oh yeah.
All right. So The Shining, huge, amazing, completely like everything after it has to kind of be like, of course I saw it. That suspense, the mystery, I mean, the actors were perfect. Everything about it. The Simpsons parodied it in one of their Treehouse of Horror episodes. And I remember Willie calling it The Shinning.
Do they still do Treehouse of Horrors?
Yes, but they're not really worth watching anymore. I bought like the first 12 seasons, which I think is about when the show starts to go downhill. And I took the episodes out of every season off the DVD and made like a mixtape of the first like 10. We should just watch that at Halloween.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they're so good.
I'm surprised they haven't released that. Just make a Blu-ray of all of the Treehouse of Terrors.
I have them on VHS, believe that or not. I got at a yard sale. An ex-girlfriend of mine bought me it's really cool looking. It's like orange and black and neon, and it's like a few of the episodes on VHS tapes. I don't know why it's like a set of 3 tapes for like 4 20-minute episodes, but it's still pretty neat, I guess.
How can we waste the most plastic?
We do. And now you get nothing, and it's tiny, and it costs 10 times as much. But I digress. Here's an awesome one, Caddyshack. Another one that Megan has not seen.
Oh, wow.
How have you not seen Caddyshack? I say that, my Stewie's going to get really high up their voice. But how have you not seen Caddyshack? Come on. You know, I hate finding out that Chevy Chase is one of the biggest jerks ever born in humanity. Yeah, but I absolutely love him as an actor. His movies, man. What a horrible person, though. We'll just leave that at that. Look it up if you don't believe me or care. He is a horrible human being. Born he's like born in Manhattan with so much money. He never had to have any sense or be decent to people. And he wasn't. He took full advantage. And he was horrible. But that movie is amazing. Even the second one's pretty good. And Bill Murray he makes it amazing. So whatever, Chevy. Don't even care. And you know the boy who the main character, he went on to be Fred and Roseanne, so there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a few people actually never pieced that together. I remember I've watched Roseanne the series like 5 times all the way through. I'm sorry, unfriend me for that too, but
I like Roseanne.
Yeah, but I remember seeing Fred, and I was like, "That's that dude," you know. You're like, "That's that guy." So yeah, Caddyshack. It tore up the theaters, and it still probably will.
Do you remember? You remember pre IMDb days?
Mm-hmm. Oh
like
yeah,
somebody like, is that guy from that movie?
And pre DVR, where you couldn't pause TV.
And you like, I can remember watching movies, and you end up in this like distracted conversation, and
you always feel like Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times. It's like, you're that dude.
Yeah.
That's another movie Megan hasn't seen. Just to pick on her, she says,
"Oh wow,
pick out movies I've never seen." Not yes, it is. She's never seen Fast Times. She doesn't want to see it because she hates Sean Penn's face, and that's the reason. And Ryan, you already knew that probably. She hates his face.
what movies did you watch?
I think she, watched My Little Pony movie and Care Bears movie. But I think that's about it. But she's a 90s kid, so a little slack must be cut, I guess.
Well, if I'm going to cut her a little slack, tell her I remember the Sea Ponies song.
She's listening, so she.
Maybe. Okay.
Sarah said she watched those too. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with those. I'm just aggravating Megan because she's not here to defend herself, and that's what we do.
Oh my gosh, what was the dude? Like the bad guy in that movie had the coolest name.
In which movie?
The My Little Pony movie. I'm like, why does that guy have such a cool name for?
I'm going to put it out there and say that I loved My Little Pony and Care Bears as a kid. I did. They were good, man. You know what? They're still good cartoons. They were about good positivity and whatnot. Today's like My Little Pony cartoons are terrible, but they were actually pretty good back then. I wouldn't have turned off G.I. Joe for it, but if it were on, I probably would have watched it, That's kind of where I stand on it, I guess. Where were we? Oh, Caddyshack. Actually, it was Pick on Megan night, apparently. Here is one of my favorites. The start of an amazing journey into the 80s. Friday the 13th. Oh, my God. Again, your son brought that up to you tonight, and I love him for it. My daughter, I had put on Friday the 13th when I was young, when she was, I think, 2. And I had just met Megan, and she was here, and she's listening now. So my daughter, yes, I'm talking to you. I turned on Jason, and she said she didn't want to. She was scared. She saw Leprechaun 500 times in a row. She would watch Freddy Krueger. She would watch anything but Jason and Michael. So one day I said, you need to take a nap, and I'm going to turn on Jason. She went to the power of the house. She went to the circuit breaker and flipped the house power completely off because she didn't want Jason to come on. I'm just like, that it scared me to death because I don't want my kid messing with that, but still to this day, that's one of my favorite stories ever. She literally, I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I flipped off the power. I don't want to see Jason." She didn't even lie about it. So
wow.
I guess there's that. And your son, who is 9, I believe he is now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Daddy, Jason's awesome." Which Addison is now, but I'm just saying. She is honest. You can say that. Sarah says she still can't watch Jason or Michael movies. So what do you watch for Halloween, may I ask? I'm going to say a new Halloween tradition for me has become the Halloween tree. I've always had like Casper and Hocus Pocus. Now the Halloween tree is a part of that. So yeah, what do you guys watch for Halloween? I'm curious because we're going to do a horror show in a couple of nights, and that might be relevant. See what I did there? Yeah.
Right. I cannot wait for Halloween this year.
Yeah, that's it, man. Me either. Pumpkins and the fall weather and things. So yeah, Friday the 13th. I'm sorry. We are really getting on tangents here. We were worried about not having enough content, and here we are nearing the end of the show, and we're going to have some stuff left over, it looks like. So that's good. All right. So Friday the 13th, the beginning of a huge decade of slasher films. Now, what were you saying?
Sorry, I was having a equipment trouble.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Did you have something to say, or was it just equipment trouble?
Just equipment.
Oh, okay, fair enough. All right, so I'll get through these last ones pretty quick. Flash Gordon. Flash.
You'll save the universe.
Yeah, if you've seen Ted, then you know all about Flash. Ted with Mark Wahlberg and Family Guy, basically the Family Guy cast with Mark Wahlberg. Ted's pretty great, but Flash Gordon, say what you will, pretty rocking for back then. If I'm not mistaken, maybe you said the Flash. Dark Falls, did you actually mention Flash Gordon earlier, or was it the Flash? I could be wrong, but I thought I saw that. Dark Falls says he watches George Romero zombie movies. That's awesome. Oh, Sarah has to work, so she doesn't get to watch any of them. But she does like Hocus Pocus, and she likes Leprechaun and all the Friday movies. Awesome. That's cool. Flash Gordon.
Dark Falls, tell us the name. Tell us the name of your Phantasy Star character.
Flash Gordon. Oh, that's awesome.
It's Flash Gordon.
Oh, dude, that's cool. How relevant. How relevant.
The first time I met him on the server, walked in this room, big crowded room,
and
there's this dude dressed in a long red coat. The screen name, Flash Gordon.
That's awesome.
I've got to talk to that guy. I'm going to talk to that guy.
You, sir, are a natural fit here.
And that's how I met Dark Falls.
That is the coolest way to meet somebody. Sarah said she has not seen Ted. Well, it's vulgar, but it's pretty hilarious, and part 2's not bad either. If you like, I don't know,
I've not actually seen part 2 of Ted.
If you like the first one, I see no reason you wouldn't like the second one. It's freaking hilarious, but it's not for kids.
Let's see if it's streaming on anything.
Raging Bull, Xanadu, and American Gigolo. I'll go ahead and knock all 3 off the list now. If you have any thoughts about any of them, the only thing I have to say about any of those is Robert De Niro.
Raging Bull was pretty cool. I think I've only seen it once, but I'm like a sucker for boxing movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess I am too. Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Have you seen the Rocky Marciano movie? It's got Jean Favreau, I think. Does that sound right?
The one that's like a documentary?
No, it's an actual movie, Rocky Marciano. Let me look it up. Who is in that? I saw it probably, 10 years ago. It's actually pretty darn good, man. I just typed in Rocky Marciano. I guess I should probably put IMDb in there. It's giving me a bio about Rocky Marciano. No, it's a pretty good movie. I mean, of course, it's based on him and things, but it's pretty great. If you're into boxing movies, that is. It's no Rocky, but nothing is, right?
It's hard to beat Rocky.
It is absolutely difficult to beat Rocky. That's for sure. All right, folks. Now, we had like this whole big thing we were going to do about modern media of old things, and I think we should still do it, but maybe not in the length that we were planning to, because we have a listener question, and we do have a radical thinking topic. So let's just try to not be as crazy about it.
I was going to say, how about we do the listener question, and then we can treat that subject as kind of like how we do the final slash.
Sure.
On the horror, just kind of, our brief thoughts on it.
Awesome.
Well,
let's do that.
Too in depth on it.
Yeah, I think it's a good topic, and we could probably spend a lot of time on it, but it's also one of those
revisit it too.
Yeah, it's one of those also where it will come up like all the time, so it's fine. All right, well, let's do our one listener question. To be fair, this is an amazing question, but I don't think it's going to be very lengthy for this show. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a crossover. So, from Mega72, I have a show idea for you guys to mix together this with Spook House Radio. What are some of the biggest paranormal events that happened in the 90s and before? That's a super awesome question.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? You kind of cut out on me.
Okay. Yeah. So this comes from Mega72, and he says, I'm sorry if you're a she. They say, I have a show idea for you guys to mix together this with Spook House Radio. What are some of the biggest paranormal events that happened in the 90s and before? How cool is that? That makes so many episodes in my mind. Like,
actually, this my answer kind of ties in back with TV. Because I actually saw this on Netflix for some reason and watched it again the other day.
Okay.
But do you remember the alien autopsy special that aired on Fox?
I absolutely do.
And like,
I saw it on YouTube not too long ago. That's why I remembered remembering it.
When was that? Like 94 or
somewhere in there. They used to do that random weird stuff. Just randomly, you would tune in to like, I don't know what, Discovery Channel back then, and you would just see like an autopsy, or you would just randomly see like haunted houses and things. It was like no rhyme or reason. Just here you go. Here's something weird.
Do programs of it.
Yeah, Jonathan Frakes hosted. That's cool.
I remember they hyped that up for weeks before that.
It's probably better they didn't get Mark Summers to host.
Yeah. And it was like Jonathan Frakes is gonna host it, and I got so into that. Like, oh my god, like, what if this is real? This could be like the evidence that we're looking for that aliens are real.
It's true.
And like, oh dude, like my dad ordered me a pizza, like I got my favorite soda, like some popcorn.
That's great, man.
I like shut my bedroom door. I'm like, I am ready to take this in. Like, I've got to see if this is the evidence that aliens are real.
I remember things being an event back then because you didn't know when it would come back on. It might not come back on for 2 years, and you wouldn't know when. You had to look at like the TV guide, and not everybody did that.
So I don't know, dude. Like, we had some good discussions about that at school for the next like week or so.
Man, I
like,
bet.
Is it real? You know, like, I don't know.
It was a time where things could be faked, but there were a lot less reasons to fake them than now.
Yeah.
You know, now it's so easy to do, and there's so many reasons people do it. For attention, just because you can do it on your phone. You know, you don't even need a computer anymore. It was much more honest in that way. And I think that will make a really good show to maybe pick some of the TV specials and the events and some of the famous reports, and maybe compare also the methods in which that they would do things. Because, you know, something that we spoke about on Spook House Radio is how the wow signal now would be probably a different word because, you know, updated slang. You know, things change. So I think with ghost hunting, you know, if you've ever watched like Ghost Hunters when it used to come on Sci-Fi, you know, methods are very different now. Now, there's always been like dowsing rods and mediums and things like that, but now they're using, you know, like thermal cameras and things like that. That would make for a pretty cool episode.
Yeah.
And I have
stuff that existed back then, but would cost like a fortune.
Absolutely.
To obtain.
That's
you know,
it.
And certainly in some cases wasn't even portable, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. If you remember camcorders back then, what did we decide? There was $1,700 in 1980. And, yeah, those were the potato cameras.
Can you even imagine? Can you imagine what like a portable video camera with like the heat vision or whatever, infrared and all that would have costed back then?
Yeah, think about how much that Pac-Man watch cost you in 1986. Now multiply that by about 1 billion. That's if Pac-Man could catch ghosts for you. How cool would that be? Every time there's a ghost near, Pac-Man lights up and makes that bloop, bloop, bloop sound. All right, that was a terrible, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sarah says she does remember seeing that stuff on TV, and she misses turning on Discovery and watching haunted houses. There was something so much more pure to it. So 1 billion times $10 would have been 10 billion. There you go. I did the math. I broke it down for you. But I remember how scary those shows were, man. There was one. My dad got the tape. Yeah. Oh God, I started watching that again the other day. That's a show we got to do. Unsolved Mysteries.
Think, I have a request.
All right, what's that?
I think we should. we've
don't say Freebird because I'm not playing.
I know we've kind of gotten off base, and it's not necessarily rad in that sense, but this is more paranormal. But I think we should wrap up the show with the Unsolved Mysteries theme.
We can do that. There's absolutely no reason we can't. I'll be getting that while while we finish the show.
We'll scare Sarah.
Yeah, it'll be something fun to go to bed to, won't it, folks? Nothing like the Unsolved Mysteries theme, man. I love it. It's amazing. But yeah, like, I think you could make definitely a good show out of that. And we've been needing to go back to ghosts anyway.
Yeah.
Because we're always talking about aliens.
Be a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah, so we'll just pick up some of the old stories and see, and just talk about, like, okay, with today's equipment, would this still hold up? Because that's always something interesting to consider, in my mind at least. We've ruled out so many things. That I'm the buzz killer of the show. I'm always coming on in the news and telling you, hey, everything you believed isn't true anymore. They figured it out. So maybe...
what else is funny is I remember watching an episode, it's been about 2 months ago, but I watched an episode of Unsolved Mysteries, and they were talking to somebody about a haunted hotel or something. So I remember this guy, and then I saw him again on something else that's like modern era, like from 2013 or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, of course, much older with white hair and everything. I'm like, wow, that dude still works there. And he's still like pushing this ghost story.
That's cool, though.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Dark Falls. Are you saying buffering with the stream? I can turn down the quality. If you guys ever have any troubles, let me know. I can actually adjust the quality a bit. So you guys let me know anytime if you have any troubles with it. Our rambling.
We never turn down awesome.
No, awesome can't be turned down, but we can turn down the bit rate just a bit. If that would ever help you guys out, just let us know. Yeah. Okay. So I've got that to fire for tonight. I'll close the show with it instead of our typical outro. Yeah. I think this is important. Before we do our last little segment, let me play the net neutrality information again, because I played it at the top of the show and most people weren't here, but it is very important. And if that's all right, Ryan, let me hit that real quick. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, let's do this then, and then we'll be right back.
We're sorry. Bandwidth limit exceeded. To continue surfing, please call now and upgrade your package.
We joke a lot, but the sad truth is you could hear this message very soon. Once again, your freedom is at risk. Big internet ISPs and the government are trying to take away more of your rights than usual. But you can do something about it.
That's right. It's super easy to do. Both of us went to battleforthenet.com today, and we made our voices heard. Battleforthenet.com has everything you need to know about the net neutrality movement, and it has everything.
We're sorry. Your internet provider has deemed this content unsuitable for viewing in your area.
Go to battleforthenet.com.
Please make your voice heard. Make a difference.
There's a new show in town. It's not your ordinary show. Every other Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, I'll podcast on your grave. Featuring monsters, slashers, ghosts, zombies, and more. So if that's something you're into, join us. Head over to midnightspookhouse.com for all the details.
Okay, thank you guys for hanging in there with us. Yeah, please check out the net neutrality movement. It's very important because you think buffering troubles are an issue. This is much larger. You'll be paying more for what's buffering right now. Essentially, is that a good way to put it? You think?
Yeah. Everything will be buffering.
Yes.
I'll just say that. Unless you want to pay them more money.
Right. That's basically what it is. It's Big Brother saying, we're going to restrict what you do and we're going to make it slower and you're going to do it within our guidelines. So please, battleforthenet.org, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, please head over to battleforthenet.org, and it's quick and easy. Please let them know that you're not going to deal with that. We're already in enough virtual cells with the internet. We don't need any more. Okay, now go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just agreeing with you.
I'm sorry about the buffering, guys. If it continues, please do let me know, and I will adjust the quality, because I don't want you guys to struggle listening to the show. Yeah, the corporation's being free. Yeah, that's it. Okay, sweet. Sarah's going to go over there right now. Please do. It's very important for everyone, like everyone, everywhere. Okay, now, Ryan, our last subject of the night, and I guess we'll call this our radical thought. Okay. Buying new or buying old things like video games and movies and such in new ways. And not only that, the remastered versions and I don't know, the high definitions. When it comes from, the original film, like, that's okay. But the point is it still worth it, do you think? If you have Mega Man 1 through 6 on cartridges, do you need the digital pack too? Are there upsides to these things, or what do you think? I know, that's where I sit every time I'm thinking about buying something like that. Like,
I'll give you my personal example today. Rumor has it that Capcom's going to do a new Street Fighter Anniversary Collection disc for the 30th anniversary of Street Fighter.
30th edition, at least.
So that's going to have like the latest Street Fighter 2 and Street Fighter 3 and all these games on it. So all of these games, they were games that I played on my Dreamcast. God, how many times have I bought these games? I played them when they were brand new back in the arcade. Then I got them for my Dreamcast, and then, I got them. So I guess I try to have a valid excuse before I rebuy a game. So my excuse then for the Dreamcast was, I'm bringing it home. Then, I'll be able to enjoy this game in the comfort of my own home.
Right, and you won't have to rent it on the weekends. It'll just be yours.
Yeah. So when it came out for the 360 and PS3, of course, they came toting online play.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point of playing Street Fighter, well, to me anyway, is playing other people. So, of course, I had to get that. Finally, I can play Street Fighter 3 against anybody in the world.
Sure.
Have as many matches as I want without having to pay a quarter for each one.
Yeah, that's a huge upside.
So now they're going to release them again for modern consoles. And my excuse this time is, unfortunately, my PS3, thanks to the cat, took a nosedive off of my entertainment center.
It's always the cat. It always is.
It bought the dust. My 360, it's having some kind of issue. It's not red ringed, but it's not exactly performing correctly either.
Mm-hmm.
But, love its soul. It's like what? I don't know how many years old now.
Yeah, now it's pretty up there. That came out in 2005 was it? The 360?
Yeah,
so it's like 12 years old. So
it's like one of the elite models.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it was still the big fat 360.
Yeah,
it's the black one.
Dark Falls. I get that can't read disc error on mine. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead. I do get that though.
Now mine's not even powering on. It takes several tries to actually get it to power on.
Oh, that's lame.
So I'm not sure what exactly is happening. Maybe it's just the power cord. I don't know.
It does sound like a power supply failure, but yeah, this is not. Let's fix Microsoft consoles hour. Go ahead.
So anyway, they're bringing out this new collection. Those are the games that I bought for my 360. So I want to continue to play them, and I want to play them online with people still. So in my mind, it's cheaper to buy another $20 to $40 disc for these games again, rather than try to replace a PS3 or an Xbox 360, because they're still expensive. So the whole point of this story is that I try to have some kind of valid excuse for rebuying. Like, if it's a movie or like a game, there has to be some kind of new content or use for it, I guess. You cited the example, like, say I've got all the Mega Man cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
I probably wouldn't buy that again, unless it was at the right price. Now, they came out with Mega Man Collection, and that's only like $15 or something.
Yeah, I actually have the originals and that. Yeah, you know what? I have both the originals and that, and I know, of course, you've had the originals as well. I can tell you that it is worth it. It has, you can.
So it's got all the artwork on it.
It does all the really cool backgrounds.
Stuff.
You can play it in like 4x3 or widescreen. There's a lot of upsides to it. There's no lag with the controls, when you're using an HD TV. There's a lot of good reasons for that. I really do feel justified.
That's one of the things with retro gaming. It's so hard to like unless they release the game on a modern console, like you're probably, unless you buy like an expensive like upscaler or something, you're probably going to be dealing with lag if you just hooked your NES directly up to a big screen TV.
That's why we sucked at Nightmare on Elm Street, right? It was lag. It wasn't that we sucked at it.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
We'll run with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when you buy the Mega Man collection, like there's no like it's perfect,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the biggest selling point of that, it's like, okay, it's only $15 brand new. Like, why would you not buy that?
Yeah, and you get all 6 games, the first 6.
Yeah.
And they're all good. Like, the first is kind of primitive, but it's fine. And even though the others maybe, 2 is kind of like the one, I think, for most people, it always was. And then, and then everybody, I think with 3 through 6, they're kind of like, oh, I like this one. And that varies. But they're all good. You can have a great time playing any of them. It's well worth the money. Not that we're here to promote Mega Man, but I think it does bring up the point that sometimes it is worth it. Like Darkfall said, sometimes. Oh, and thank you, by the way, for going to Battle for the Net. That's awesome. I mean, I don't mean it as a personal favor, but it's for all of us. I appreciate it, man. That's really cool.
I don't think people realize how important that is.
It's very important.
And the government's kind of counting on that. They don't want people to realize that this is an issue.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just one of those things they want to kind of pass and sweep under the rug, and and then we're screwed.
That's it. There's no going back once it's done. Like it would be like undoing the death penalty in a state that just passed it. Like good luck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. Sneak it past. Thieves in the night. They are. That's what they do best. But I think with movies now, I have quadruple dipped in like Friday the 13th and Halloween, and
well, that's it. Those are your favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't for like Exorcist 3 or something. But
now I think for those movies, you have an excuse for a while. Your VHS tapes, they're going to wear out eventually.
Absolutely.
So you're going to make the jump to DVD. From there, it gets a little hairy. I've replaced DVDs just because, I own some movies. Like, I had a copy of Back to the Future or something that I just wasn't pleased with the quality.
Sure.
I think the aspect ratio was wrong or something. Like, it said it was widescreen, but clearly it was, like, weirdly stretched or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was weird. So I got the Blu-rays of that. There's... You want the perfect movie experience, I think, for your favorites.
That's it exactly. That's what I was gonna say. Like, there's a lot that I have just on DVD, and I'm like, there's no reason to replace it. But I think on the ones that you care about, you'll always probably upgrade.
What's something on DVD that I have?
Let's just pick something like, say, Joe Dirt. If you like it, you don't probably love it enough to need like a definitive 4K resolution version of it. DVD's fine.
somewhere out there's the ultimate Joe Dirt fan, and he's like, "Forget you guys."
And it's Joe Dirt himself. Yeah. But I mean, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's just, I think the definitive answer for me, if I have to put all this in a nutshell and just lay it on the line, is it just depends on how much you love whatever it is that you're rebuying.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and that's all it comes down to. Because that's the perfect example, you know, like Joe Dirt, you know, I'm perfectly fine with that on DVD.
Right.
I mean, why would you need a Blu-ray of that? Like, like what kind of visuals are you trying to improve upon?
Yeah, unless you don't have the DVD and you just want Joe Dirt and you just buy the Blu-ray, I don't see the point in seeking it out. I don't see that one ever being like rare. But you know what? The movie Hot Rod is actually rare to find on Blu-ray. I had to buy a Canadian import. Yeah. It's hilarious, so I did. You know, it was only a few bucks.
It is a funny movie.
Mookie Mook says, then there's the box sets that you have to have. I know they put all those darn extras, and yeah, they got the booklet, and the artwork's amazing. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times, honestly, I've bought Halloween, like the first one. I bet I've owned it like 8 different times. It's just ridiculous, but I'll probably continue once the 4K versions come out. It's ridiculous. I hate myself for that, such a sheep about it, but it is what it is. But honestly, there's a point where there is no more footage. There are no more stories you haven't heard. The quality can only get marginally better. Bless you. And it is what it is. But 5 years later, a new box set. It's true. I think that eventually they're going to have to stop making these new special editions and just release what's out on a higher format. You know. You can't continually add things. What's that?
With Star Wars, people are begging for Disney to like not add things, but to take them away. Like, people want the original theatrical releases of Star Wars so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you would make that would be the greatest selling Blu-ray set of all time. I'm not even joking. Like, of all time. If they released the theatrical versions with all of the special edition stuff removed.
Mm-hmm.
That's all people want. The last time you could actually get that was like on VHS and Laserdisc.
Wow, Laserdisc.
And the Laserdisc version, like the aspect ratio is wrong or something like that. Like, there's something like glaringly weird with it.
Well, you know, Laserdisc did so well after all.
Yeah.
Infamously good, you know.
So you've got VHS quality, or you can put up with the weird thing going on with the Laserdisc thing. But people just want like give us a Blu-ray of the theatrical releases, please.
Yeah, and
please.
Just chill with everything else. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's what it's going to come down to. Is sometimes it makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. Do you have it, and how important is it to you? I think it's okay that they do it, like the DuckTales and Castle of Illusion video game remakes. Now, those both look incredible. They do lack some of the charm, but they are absolutely gorgeous, man. Like, have you played either of them?
Yeah, I have.
They are beautiful to look at. You would be hard-pressed to find a prettier remaster of anything, ever. But do you need that? How important is it to you? That's, I think, what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even at the end of the day, like, if it's a pretty remaster, it's like, how much do you love this property?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, were you going to get that anyway? Or, you know.
Right. Well, you know what? It has been a fun show. I thought we were going to run out of material and sound really ridiculous.
Over again.
We are over again. I'm sorry, guys and gals, that we keep running over. I know that, I don't know. It's not on purpose. Let's put it that way. Darkfall says, why not do the remaster with the original added? How cool would that be? Now, on the Street Fighter 2, what is it, Ultra on the Switch, you can switch graphics back to the old style. That kind of gives you the best of both worlds, and sound as well.
With Star Wars, I thought it would be cool if, because I don't completely hate all of the changes that George Lucas made.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be cool to, like, have this special, like, Blu-ray to where you get to kind of assemble your own cut of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, you start with the base movie and then you choose like, okay, do you want these special edition things in there? Or
it's
like,
kind of like the Criterion
you want this
edition kind of deal.
Exactly.
Where you can kind of click the thing.
Yeah, and choose and just build your own experience the way, because not everything that he did was horrible. Like in Empire Strikes Back, you know, like when they're in Cloud City, like I guess you just had to use your imagination for the city portion of it, because all the filming was done in like these bare white hallways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was no city. It might have been an underground city, we don't know. But like in the special edition, they like actually edited in windows and like knocked down all the walls essentially so you could see the cityscape in the background. Like, that's a nice touch.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Like, yeah. I would keep that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know.
I get it. Yeah. Come on, get on that, guys. How hard is it? Like, you know, I have like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and there's like 4 different cuts of that, you know? And there's like this huge manual and things. Like, you have to really research what to watch. It's kind of cool. But the point is you reserve that option. Dark Falls says he has RoboCop with theatrical and directors. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when it's a film that you love, that makes it fun.
Mm-hmm. It does. And who are they to tell you that you shouldn't have the original that, you know, maybe you saw in the theaters on Blu-ray?
And I think it's fascinating to talk to people that are enthusiastic about it. Like, you know, I've got this edition of Halloween, but it's different from this edition because it's, you know, the edition that released in this year is missing like this 30 seconds of footage here and like blah blah blah. Like, tell me about all the differences. Like, I think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
that people love movies that much and know that stuff.
There was a couple of years ago, and I actually own it. There was a Halloween box set that came out on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. And they came out, there's a cut for part 6, which I actually really like. It's not super popular with the masses. It's not great. It has Paul Rudd, and it was Loomis's last film, but I liked it. And there's a producer's cut that's just completely different. It kind of sets a completely different tone and pace, and they put it on there, and I'm like, that's the coolest thing. Thank you, you know? Very cool. And you still have the original as well, the theatrical. Dark Fall says he has RoboCop with theatrical and directors. That's how it should be. You should just have a choice. It should be up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so there you go. There's that. Have that. I don't know what to make of it, but have it. It's cool to have choices, is I think the point in the end. We're in a time of choices. So when you have something like Star Wars and you don't really have a good choice, that sucks. There's no really good excuse for that. So we're all for it. Let's have old stuff on new medias. We're fine with that. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Again, I'm so sorry we rambled. Sarah actually said it's been a great show, and we really appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
Thank you so much. So glad to see you here. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you, Dark Falls and Hester Prine, as always. Mookie Mook. Thank you, Spookhouse Dell and Spookhouse Ryan. You guys are great. I know you guys are great. And thank you for the other folks. Handsome. Yeah, you're so handsome. You're dreamy. We love you. But thanks everyone who's, you know, listening but not signed in. We love you guys so much. We really do appreciate it. Now, this was a makeup show where we missed a couple of weeks ago. Normally, we don't go on Mondays. It's Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday of this week, we're going to do I'll Podcast on Your Grave. It's our horror show, and it should be fun. So Wednesday at 10, everybody, if you can, Sarah, we would love it if you could tune in. If you can't, we understand. We'd love to have you guys back. And if you ever have any ideas that you want to send our way, go to our website. So let me do that. Wednesday at 10, I'll Podcast on Your Grave. Friday night at midnight, as always, Spookhouse Radio. All right, now for the information how to get in touch with us. MidnightSpookhouse.com. You can contact us. You can listen to old episodes. Twitter, The Spookhouse, and Facebook, The Midnight Spookhouse. And get in touch with us. Contact us. I actually got a pretty awesome story this week. I'm in touch with the person, and I don't know if they'd like me to share it or if they'd like to come on and share it, but it's a really spooky story. So hopefully we'll have that Friday for all you who like ghosts and things. Sarah says she's off that day. Awesome. So come hang out with us. We'll be here doing what we do. For better or worse, this is what we do. So for me, thank you so much. We love you, and Ryan, would you like to say your good night, sir? And I'll go ahead and start the Unsolved Mysteries theme.
All right. Just sweet dreams, everyone.
Yes, sweet dreams.
Thank you for listening, guys. I hope everybody has a great night, despite the outro music. Good night.
We'll see you guys in a couple of nights. Thank you.